Welcome to a Quivr product update. I'm Steve Drost. With me, as always, we got Will Kaplan. Both of us, of course, from the Quivr CRM team, which is the CRM built by financial advisors for financial advisors. And our objective, super simple. How can we help you run your business at peak efficiency? Now, each episode of Product Updates, we are going to explore a newly released feature that is designed to, again, make your life easier. Will, what do we got going on today?
Steve, today we get to talk about the new income module. This is something that came out of user requests. Essentially, it's a way to track income at the household level, but also specify like where's that income coming from, who's kind of responsible for it. I think some users are probably going to kind of like line it up with what's going on in their planning tool, but it's also just like when you get a note from a client that's like, hey, here's my social security benefit, or I've got this taxable income, or whatever it might be. Where are we going to stick it? Does it go in a note? Or does it go into something a little bit deeper? And something a little bit deeper is definitely what we always strive for, because we want it to be reportable. We want it to be actionable, meaning that we could run an automation or something off of it if we needed to. So that's really where this thing started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so we can dive in a little bit.
If you are listening and not watching, if you're listening on a podcast, you're driving to work, something like that, we still do think you'll get something out of this, but do be aware that as Will shares his screen, he's going to be showing a lot of information, showing you exactly how this can work. And like he said, the income module, we are not trying to replace your financial planning software, not even a little bit. The best use case that I have for it, and something that I will use in my practice, is Social Security. So my niche is pre-retirees. I typically work with people 1 to 2 years before retirement. That is when they walk into my office. And with that, we might turn Social Security on in a year. We might turn it on in 2 years. We might turn it on in 7 years, might be 10 years. And how am I going to keep track of everything that we've ever talked about with Social Security, all of the notes, the Social Security plan, all of that stuff in one little spot? So that way, every year, I don't have to recreate the wheel or go everywhere, right? How can we get all of this information in one concise spot? Is that fair, Will?
Yeah, that's it exactly, Steve. It's not meant to replace the planning tool. It's just meant to kind of give you a place to see everything together. And then also, maybe you're in a meeting and somebody says like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I got my Social Security benefit statement, or I've started receiving income from a trust account, or like, it's just a way for you to kind of keep notes that are a little bit more structured, if that makes sense. So Steve, what you're seeing on the screen right now, obviously something you're very familiar with, our Quivr demo environment. I'm here at, our favorite fake client, the Halperts, and I'm going to navigate down to this income module, which is listed under the household modules. Just like many of our modules, you're going to end up on a landing page. This one's pretty short. Really, you're just going to get some high-level notes about all of the various sources of income for this family before we immediately sort of dive into the specific income sources for this household. Does that make sense?
Yep. And one of my favorite things about these modules is you're able to run workflows right off of the modules, keep notes pertaining to this module, right? One thing that I don't like about some other CRMs is it looks like Facebook. You have all of these notes for every single topic all over the place. Whereas I'd rather have all of my income notes in one spot, all of my estate planning notes in one spot. I'm a little OCD. Maybe I'm the weird one. But the landing page, right, that is what allows you to do that. Track all things pertaining to a specific topic in one spot.
Yeah, and Steve, that's another great, there's another great point to be made there too, where we have the ability to add custom fields and data to a lot of places in Quivr. This is certainly no different. If there's things that you want to track that maybe make sense for your business, or that, another one of our users is like, well, hey, hold on, you totally missed this. This is something that I want to track. Great. Come in here, add as a custom field. It's here and available. You can start, keeping track of it, running automations off of it. Like, you've got all that power at your fingertips. That said, let's jump down into Pam's Social Security benefit. So we gave you the ability to actually name these so that you don't have to remember like what they are. If it's just, sort of an auto incrementing field, there's a little bit of I guess, a philosophical shift there, where now this is, this tells me what this is. And so I don't have to look at who is it and what type of a thing it is. Like, I've got some of that information right here. So as we click into this, up at the top, we're going to have a details section. This is who owns this source of income and what household are they part of. That's really just the structural connectivity inside of Salesforce, allowing us to jump between these different records. In this case, we've got a type. This is a drop-down box. Now, we've given you some information. This is a pick list. Certainly, you can add more items to this pick list and customize it if you need to. A lot of what's in here is kind of just some of the high-level things that we threw in here to get you started, but certainly you can customize this and make it your own. We want you to use Quivr for your business track the things that you need to track about your clients.
And to piggyback off that, I know of a user who has, if you click on that again, Will, where it says pension, they have pension dash the company.
Well, that's great.
They'll have legitimately like this is a this company's pension, this is this company's pension. I don't work with a lot of pensions. I don't see that too much, so like I would never do that. But this person, I can't remember the industry, but that way they can then run reports and queries from a firm wide basis to say like, oh, company ABC's pension changed. I want to see every pension in the system that is related to that. Now they have a list of every single person who has that pension that was frozen or impacted or whatnot.
Well, and piggybacking on that, I mean, what a great field to be able to pick up and filter on for Archer, where if you want to create tasks or you want to, some type of an automation, great. Now we have that functionality. That's a really good tip, Steve. What a great customization that they're using. We've got some description information. We've got how much. So again, like where I used to use this in my practice was I would have this information and then I would copy it over to my planning tool. I'd kind of gather it up in one place and then replicate it out. As you are well aware, like not a lot of the planning tools integrate with Salesforce, but it would give me, I'd pull this window up and then pull another window up and just make sure I'd go kind of back and forth, do these match. Did I change it in one place and like forget to change it someplace else? And so I'd have two browser windows up and just kind of work my way across. I think a couple seconds ago, you actually mentioned like, when is it going to start? When is it going to end? We want to be able to track that. So sometimes there's income streams that are only there for a little bit of time. We want to be able to see that and track it and have some information about it. And related to that is how often do they get it? Pam here is getting 36,000 annually. But again, like here's a pick list where we think we've got most of it, but maybe there's some stuff that you need to add. Right now, by default, we've got weekly, bi-monthly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. So this is, giving you some options about how you're tracking that income for your clients. One of my favorite fields that we kind of stick everywhere is a notes field. This is giving you that context, maybe a little bit of additional information. This one's filled out in terms of what's going on with the ACA and Medicare and all that great stuff. Since we're talking about Social Security, maybe we're talking about, we're going to plan to defer this for a couple of years so that we could do some Roth conversions before they turn 70. Great. Put all that information in here, give that context, capture why you made the planning decision that you did and how it impacts this source of income.
I mean, that is, and to me, that notes box is the most important field in the system. Odds are when you're building that, when you're building that initial plan with a new-ish client, especially if, retirees is your niche, you're talking about, early on directionally where you think you're going to go. And that one sentence right there tells me everything I need to know. And the cool thing too is for our users that are, utilizing the media module, it pulls all of this information in as well. You are 2 clicks to this from the media module. You're 2 clicks, 2 clicks. So if the client, if I'm not talking about Social Security and they say, hey, can you remind me what our Social Security plan is? I make small talk and I act like I didn't hear them or just say, yeah, 1 second, like let me go find that. I'm boom, and I am here and I will like read it. Like, oh yeah, my notes say we're going to start Social Security plan when you're 65. Because remember, we're doing the ACA right now, so we got to keep your income low. But once you're 65, we're on Medicare, and it doesn't matter as much because now we got IRMA rules. We're going to turn you guys to Social Security on, and we're in the clear. The rules of the game changed. I mean, I sound way smarter than I am because of that one sentence.
Well, and like, I mean, when I was practicing, I used eMoney and it had some basic Social Security optimization features. Some people use different tools. You could absolutely, I mean, again, one of the nice things about Salesforce, this is a rich text window. And so if I want to, drop a picture in here, take a screenshot of what eMoney produced and just drop that in here so that I can come back and reference, like when we made this decision to defer Social Security, what were we looking at? I don't have to go recreate it in eMoney. I could just drop a screenshot in here, or I could, copy out a couple of fields and drop those in. And so you've got the ability to sort of capture the context, which, to your point, it's so important of what was going on when we made this decision.
Same thing with like a pension max, right? Are we taking a single pension or a joint life pension and buying life insurance, right? That whole game that you play, it's just a math equation. But if you take that output from Excel, wherever you get it, pop it in there, or even attach it on the notes and attachments to the right, you have that at your fingertips at the exact second that you need it.
Yeah, really powerful. As we work our way further down the page, this is some of the other income types. So even though this may not apply to Social Security, given that we're using record types to sort of differentiate some of these different types of income, you could hide some of this stuff if you don't want it on the page. If you want to have it just on, like a W-2 page and not on this page, that's great. We wanted to give you a lot of fields though, try and capture as many of the different things as you might want to do. So there might be some, We might make some changes on that end as we get feedback from users. One of our favorite places to, decide what we're going to implement and what we're going to change is how are people using it. So if we get some feedback of like, get these fields off, we have that capability too. We're just kind of at this point waiting to see what users like and what they don't like. But certainly a lot of W-2 information, some state and local income tax information, and then some just high level, like, is there an employer's EIN? Do we have dependent care benefits? Is there non-qualified plan? What that might look like. We want to capture as much of that as we possibly can. Now, just to kind of give a little bit of a high level, philosophical, where did this come from? Essentially, when we're talking about income, we went to the IRS and we looked at what their taxable income looked like and the different types that they recognize. And then we tried to copy this into Quivr as best we could. So if it's something like a benefit, we're going to have something like a benefit section. If we've got business income, where's business income? Right here. We're going to have that business income. So we want to be able to give you sort of fields in the way that the IRS was thinking about this income inside of Quivr as well in order to kind of categorize this
Will,
stuff.
stay on the screen too. I mean, this right here might seem mundane or just boring, or why do I have to make a pick? But if we think about it, right, the whole point of Quiver is to get data in the system clean so that you can do something with it in the future. I never want to enter information unless I'm getting a positive return on my time in some fashion, right? Either my accuracy is going up or my time spent on something is going down. If we want to think about Archer, right, for our current users who are utilizing Archer, specifically workflows and processes, I mean, you can run automations off of business incomes. So you can say if there's a business income, then on the 1st of January, kick off the IRS tax calendar because these people are now filing various business. Like, for example, I had a client not too long ago, bring up partnership tax return a deadline on March 15th. That's not April 15th,
Mm.
March 15th, right? So you could potentially have notifications in your system reminding you, like, this is a business, that date might be applicable. Then make sure you're paying attention to things like this. Either get your extension filed or, today's February 27th when we're recording this. You got 16 days to make sure that gets taken care of. So that alone, right, you're able to start looking at your clientele or your client base and making sure things don't get missed.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I think that's philosophically a big part of where Quiver comes from is we really want to help a lot of these users and these firms and these advisors shift from being reactive to proactive. Let Quiver come in and tell you, hey, you need to pay attention to this because there's this thing in the system. And so we're going to create something in Archer that captures our attention in that moment when we're supposed to act. I don't have to carry around all that, mental debt of here's everything I need to remember about my client. I just need to set Quiver up in a way that it's going to kind of guide me through that process of being a really phenomenal advisor. And I think that's exactly what you're speaking to, which is, hey, this client's a little different. They've got this little thing. You need to pay attention to it and you need to go talk to your client about it. And that's the beauty of kind of what we're setting up here, which is this, because we've got something like dates on when does this start and when does it end, that gives us the ability to start looking at it inside of Archer as well, where we can run things off of date-based automation.
I mean, if this
You
was an
know,
annuity set to start on their 65th birthday, you can run an automation that says kick off a workflow 6 months before the start date of that annuity. And you just get a notification on your homepage that says, Pam's annuity, you need to turn that on in 6 months for various reasons. Like, you're not going to forget it, right? Build once and then let your system tell you when it's time to start doing stuff.
yeah, that's it exactly. And even for things like, I mean, you've got Social Security starting, and so that's going to make you have to do a different, tax projection for the Roth conversions that you normally do for this family. Like you've got all that data here at the field level. As much as we love these notes fields, having that as a date means that we can interact with it. We don't have to parse through all of that information in the note. We've just got it right there, ready to go. I know when this is starting. And so 3 months before I can act on it, or during that year, I can act on it if I need to be, paying attention to it. So it's really powerful. Users came up with the income module. That's where this started. I think it's really powerful. It gives us a lot of options to work with as we're dealing with our clients and trying to do some tax planning for them or trying to update their financial plans. I mean, this could be something where, because I've got a start date on Social Security, the year that kicks off, I need to go update eMoney or I need to go update, Income Lab or one of these other planning tools that we use just to make sure, is it right? And does it match with what our estimate originally was? And that's just, that makes me a better planner, which is really what Quiver's all about.
Yeah, one thing you kind of skipped over, Will, was the federal income and taxes down at the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're right, right? That's more applicable. Most of these are more applicable to W-2s. But one of the things that I constantly get annoyed by is I have found that when clients enroll in Social Security, at least at the office local to me, whether or not they withhold taxes appears to be tied to the individual from the Social Security office that they talk to. So it's like some of my clients have taxes withheld, some of them don't, and that annoys me. So I do fill in the federal income tax withheld box because if that is zero, I custody with Schwab, and most of our clients were sending, monthly checks to them or, ACHs every month. I now know that I need to withhold enough not only to cover Schwab distributions, but also the taxable component of Social Security. So that box right there, that federal income tax withheld, that's actually really, really important to me because if it's turned on, if they're getting that benefit, I know, am I withholding for Schwab or am I withholding for Schwab and Social Security? So it seems small, but I know instantly what's going on.
No, and that's one of those really powerful things where when you get to the tax deadline and the client all of a sudden owes a little bit of money because they weren't withholding from Social Security and they're angry and they want to yell at everybody because, well, why do I have to pay tax? Like it just saves you that headache where, yeah, absolutely. Like this is the law and we have to be, but there's a how it's presented to the client and how they get that information of like, oh, no, we already took care of it. You don't have any tax obligation this year. You're good to go. Move into the next year graciously and happily, and you don't have to worry about any of this. Like,
That's why
you're absolutely
I
right.
yelled at a few years ago, and I don't want that to happen again. I don't
We've
like
all been
getting
there,
yelled
right?
at. I get yelled at about something one time. I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen again. So
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's exactly why I do it.
No, that's awesome. And so, again, this is new functionality that we've got. It lives under the household record in this income module so that it's neatly organized. So you don't have to go hunt for it. Like, as Steve mentioned, if you're in a meeting, you're a couple clicks away. As you're adding this information into the system, it's all right here, but it's designed to basically track all of those sources of income that you would either be entering into something like a planning tool or that you just need to keep information about as you're working with it, which is what Steve is really talking about too. I don't want to have to go open my planning tool to review all this data when I'm communicating with a client. I just want it right here in front of me. So that's our new income module. We're excited to get feedback from our users about it to get a sense of what's working and what's not and how we can further refine it.
Exactly. No, more good stuff, Will. Thanks for taking the lead on this. Will did way more on this than I did. You know what? A lot of our users did more on this than I did, which was great. Anytime there's users that's really passionate about a feature, tell us that. Which is a great reminder. If you're a Quivr user already, get to office hours. Not only can we help you master this new feature, if this is something that you might not have even known existed in the system, but also remember, many of our new features are coming from our users, including the income module. So whether that's from tickets, from emails in the forums, or office hours, please tell us, what can we do to make this system even better? My wife tells me I have a big ego, but it's not too big where we're not willing to listen to you guys and hear from our users and learn how we can make this even better. If you're not a Quivr user, I'm sorry, you don't get to use the income module, but that's okay. Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And just remember, it's not too late. Go ahead, schedule a demo, come see Quivr live with one of us yourself, and learn how can Quivr help make your life a little bit easier.